What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another new episode of the Last Wave Podcast. If you are new to the show, then we go over topics such as UFOs, conspiracies, ghosts, cryptids, nerd stuff occasionally, and pretty much everything else under the paranormal umbrella. You can find us here on YouTube or our Wix blog, Facebook, Twitter as well, and we also do have a Patreon account. I try to add a couple of cool little things on there as well. Our Wix blog actually has what I like to call the archive, which is if I don't do an episode on it or if I find some interesting research material, I upload it to there so everyone can kind of share it. So it's kind of a cool little side project for us. So check all that stuff out. Like us on Facebook, like the video here or the audio more or less, and just like and subscribe wherever you can find us. So we really appreciate it. But anyway, today's topics are going to be the CIA's massive structure that's encrypted, that's in front of their main building, and then we're going to take a look at one of the best paranormal documentaries I've seen in years. So, without further ado, we'll get right into it. Speaking about this CIA artwork structure that's that's in front of their new building. So basically, before the new headquarters building was finished in 1991, some thought was put aside and given to enhancing the new structure with artwork that was not only pleasing to the eye, but indicative of the Central Intelligence Agency's work. Under federal construction guidelines, apparently, a small portion of the cost of the new building had to be set aside to commission original artwork for the building. A panel of CIA members and cultural art specialists, which I thought it was pretty crazy that the CIA has included cultural art specialists, chose a few pieces. Their main thoughts toward the overall project were as follows. Art at the CIA should reflect the life in all its positive aspects. It should engender feelings of well being and hope. It should be forceful in style and manner. It should be worldly yet identifiable, American roots in concept, materials, representation, and so forth. What was chosen for the main project was a concept called cryptos, the Greek word for hidden. This two-part artwork sculpture was designed by local artist James Sanborn and was commissioned in November of 1988. The mystery behind the actual structure itself began early on with the concept. Basically, the piece of art consists of two pieces of petrified wood that are sticking up out of the ground. They're fairly large posts, and on these posts or each post has a metal sheet attached to it, and these metal sheets are bent in a way that make them look like waving flags. They're called pages, but they look more like flags when you see them. They look like flags on top of flagpoles. And on these very thin, curved metal sheets are hundreds of characters, letters, numbers. I believe there were some shapes on there that I saw, but just all kinds of crazy stuff. And basically, what this was is the artist had the help of retiring cryptographer Ed Shate, and he helped him encode the messages onto the board. So it's not just random letters and shapes; it's actually a hidden cryptographic message. And then apparently, the first three messages have been uncovered, but it took nearly 10 years and multiple teams of cryptographers to decipher it. Now, the retiring cryptographer that helped was on the board of the cryptography section of the CIA. So I assume he had some pretty good knowledge. But still, for it to take 10 years and multiple teams, I thought that was a little crazy just to figure out the first three messages on the board. But the first message they discovered read, between subtle shading and the absence of light lies the nuance of occlusion. Now, apparently, it should say illusion, and it was intentionally misspelled for difficulty. So I thought that was also interesting. The second included the coordinates of the CIA's headquarters and alludes to something buried beneath its grounds, while also noting that only the former CIA chief William Webster knows the exact location of these underground facilities. Now, of course, we're dealing with the CIA and the government, and it's completely understandable that they would have underground structures of some type. They more or less kind of have to. Like, I would be very surprised if the CIA doesn't have underground structures of some kind, whether it be laboratories, full on complexes, that sort of thing, or at least some bomb shelter storage areas that of that nature. They've got to have something, so that kind of makes sense. The last message that they found out apparently quoted the account of Egyptologist Howard Carter as he opened King Tut's tomb. Why they would have that on there, I'm not sure. As far as the fourth and final message, it has yet to be uncovered. The first three, again, took nearly 10 years and teams of cryptographers to unveil it. So I, for one, would really want to know what is on this fourth message. Is it something insane, or even better, like, is it just like a random jingle from the 90s? Like, they've already figured it out, but it's like the jingle from a vacuum commercial, and they're like, this can't possibly be it. It's got to be something more important. Or is it something that's really serious, and they've either can't figure it out or they've already found it out and are keeping it secret? Which, again, CIA, government, that makes way more sense than it being something funny. But you can always hold out hope, I suppose. I guess we'll never know. Maybe we will. Maybe they'll unveil it. Maybe they won't. Again, it's probably something secretive that they kept secret. It's the CIA. What are you going to do? You know. But I just thought that was super interesting that the CIA has a piece of art out in front of their building that they don't even know what it fully means. I thought that was absolutely classic and an absolute perfect representation of the government of this country. So take it as you will. I thought it was kind of cool. I thought it was a really interesting little find there. But and today's probably gonna be a short episode, but we're moving on to our second half. Is the review for again one of the best paranormal documentaries I've seen in a long time, and mainly it's because it's basically encompasses what we do here on the channel. Basically everything that's paranormal, from top to bottom, not just ghosts, not just UFOs, a whole cornucopia of stuff is what this documentary encounters. The name of the documentary is Hellier. Season one and two are both on Amazon Prime right now, and I believe there's still some on YouTube. I want to say maybe season one is still on YouTube, but don't quote me on that as of this time. But it is definitely on Amazon Prime because that's where I watched it, and I happened to stumble across um, probably a little late because again it was probably on YouTube. It was on YouTube first, and this documentary again it concerns the events surrounding Greg and Dana Newkirk. They are paranormal investigators and owners of a haunted item traveling museum. And I had heard of them just through different things like podcasts and just random. I don't know. I'm a researcher. We just run into the same sort of things. So their names had definitely popped up through Twitter, through, again, podcasts and things of that nature. I actually heard I can't quote the podcast here, or I would. I honestly don't remember which one, but they have this item that's basically like a totem. It's like a African doll, and the name escapes me, and I feel like an idiot because I didn't bring this up. I didn't put it in the show notes. But the idol is apparently haunted, and it's haunted to the point of it has to be with them or it's not happy. Like they would do EVPs and things like that with this African idol, and they would get screams and unhappy noises. And apparently, the idol just wanted to be able to see them or to be around them. And they'll actually have this idol. It got to the point where they actually have to take it with them, like when they tour with the haunted museum. They actually have to take this piece with them so it is appeased and it's not causing trouble. And I thought that was just the craziest thing I had heard in a long time. But again, that's something you remember when you hear it. That's such a crazy story. But you can actually see it. You actually see it throughout this and throughout other videos that they do. So it's kind of cool to see this little idol pop up that you've heard about. But anyway, back to the thing. Again, I've heard about these people a few times. They seem very cool, really super down to earth, just normal paranormal investigators. The main thumbnail of Hellier shows this weird little alien goblin looking thing, which is what got me at first. I was like, that's kind of cool. So, but seeing that they were also involved, I mean, shit, I was down to watch this. The main premise of the show starts with Greg and Dana receiving an email from a man named David, who sees these little goblin beings around his property in Kentucky. This, if you listen to our channel, is pretty similar to what we get from the ad. People basically contact them occasionally with random haunted objects that they want to get rid of or they need them to hold on to, and random other emails, I'm sure, like we get. But this email had nothing to do with haunted objects. They came to an old email that hadn't even been used in years. I don't want to go into a whole lot of detail because you honestly just have to watch the seasons of this thing unfold. It's really cool. Uh, Again, I don't want to go into a whole lot of detail, but basically it evolves into much more than just some goblins. There seems to be strange connections and synchronicities with older cases that they've had, and other cases that other people have encountered. Random books from that have to deal with UFOs and occult stuff end up you know popping up and being part of this thing, and it seems all these connections start to show up. But again, there seems to be all these connections and synchronicities. Uh, there's plenty of intrigue going around as this team actually tries to get to the bottom of some like cryptic messages coded in some of these emails. Um, I mean, it just gets so much more than just a case of goblins. Uh, During the show, though, this is like what I really took away from the show. They use something called the ESTES method, ESTES method of spirit communication, which I will forever be using at investigations from now on. It was the brainchild of the other team members, Connor Randall, and his previous investigation teammates, Carl Pfeiffer and Michelle Tate. The Estes method is actually named for the place where it was first conceived, the Stanley Hotel in Estes Park, Colorado. And I don't think I have to give anyone an introduction to the Stanley Hotel, but if I do, it's the hotel The Shining movie was based on. If you're here listening to me now, you should probably know that by now. So I'm not going to go any further on that. But using this method, a person basically holds a spirit box, usually an SB7 or something along those lines, used for hearing spirit voices and audible EVPs. But instead of allowing it to play through the loudspeaker, getting that iconic, psh, 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 static noise that we're used to seeing on TV and in videos, the person holding it is blindfolded and wears headphones connected to the device. So they're actually just hearing the static, but they're not seeing anyone around them or hearing anyone around them. And their job is to state aloud what they hear through the device while other team members ask questions. So the goal is overall is to confirm or answer the questioner with a spirit response, given that the listener who's holding the device cannot hear the other team members asking questions. Um, it is honestly quite fascinating and a little unnerving to use if you're not at least a little well versed in spirit communication or channeling or things like that, because the addition of not hearing your teammates but just hearing this static tone and being blindfolded, tricks your senses into almost going into a trance like state at sometimes, to where you open yourself up and you can hear these voices and hear them better. So just imagine, if you're still not on board, just imagine if a two-person team, one person is blindfolded, earphones on or headphones on, and they're listening to the SB7 spirit box through that. The other team member is across the room asking questions saying, how many spirits are here with us? The person with the headphones on can't hear the questioner, but they come back with the answer. They just hear through the SB7 the number five. So they say five aloud. So you're basically getting them to answer the question without hearing the question. And they do that more than one time in the actual show, and it is pretty freaking riveting. Like I'm sure I probably didn't breathe at some of those points. So I definitely recommend trying it if you're an avid or if you're a beginning um, paranormal researcher or ghost hunter, that sort of thing. I definitely think it's a fantastic method to try to use. So, continuing with the documentary, it takes us through twists and turns through its entire 2 seasons. It would be easier to tell you what paranormal trope these guys don't actually encounter. Well, I don't think Bigfoot is in it, But pretty much everything else, from cults to creatures to conspiracies, are in this documentary. And to be honest, the show can be a bit of a slow burn. And if you're not paying attention, you could miss something. Um, it also maybe it's slightly a bit much to take in for light paranormal fans. Like there's a lot of information. Like they're going through the towns, the emails, the books, records, things of that nature. There's a lot to take in if you're just a casual, I watch Ghost Adventures every other Friday kind of paranormal fan. But either way you slice it, wonderful, wonderful thing to watch. I enjoyed the heck out of it. And this is a documentary that's, again, it's made by researchers who got a crazy email and went down a rabbit hole. And I could just not half believe where it ended up. Plus, it's kind of in, some of it's kind of in my backyard of North Carolina. So I thought that was even better. So it was really like they just made me a documentary. It's really all that happened. But the members of my team that have seen it really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. I think everyone who's a paranormal researcher should definitely watch it. It includes a lot of cool stuff. Again, there's not like, you're not going to have your big production, your ghost adventure, ghost hunters, jump scare moments and stuff like that. But it is honestly, in my opinion, better than that kind of stuff because it seems real. Like it is real. I mean, I do trust the people that it's an actual documentary and not something you get, nowadays on YouTube. But again, highly recommended. If you want to know anything more about Cryptos, the CIA structure and stuff, I did do a blog article on that on the Wix blog as well. You could check it out. Of course, that's all that stuff's on the internet. And again, I believe they're still looking for the answer for the fourth message. So again, that's pretty crazy in itself. But I think that's going to do it for us today. Kind of a little bit of a short episode, but I rambled a little bit. So any way you slice it, that's what we got for today. Thank you for listening. Like and subscribe. It's still COVID. We're still trying to make these episodes work in the time frames that we have that are free. Still looking for co-hosts. So if you hear this and you're local to North Carolina, um, message us on Facebook. You can find us there, and that goes directly to the team. So feel free to drop us a line, drop us an email, drop us a message, whatever you want to do. If you have any questions, concerns, anything like that, we love hearing stories. It helps me and my team learn more, and we also get to help people along the way, which is the main point of one of the next episodes that are coming up, where we're going to go into more about the ad that we put out and the fact that we put it out again recently and got some even crazier responses. So keep an eye out for that email or that podcast episode. It should be up in a week or so. But that's going to do it for us today. Thanks for listening. As always, thank you for being here. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, like us on here, subscribe, whatever you got to do. Thanks for being a fan, and we'll catch you on the next episode.